Bad baseball weather. Is there really such a thing? Let's find out. Hey guys, Chris Sloan here with Bad Baseball and SelectBaseballTeams.com. If you're not familiar, SelectBaseballTeams.com, we help players, parents, and teams get connected in a easy and meaningful way. So if you haven't, take a second, check us out. Also, we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel here and continue to come back watching our discussions. So today I want to talk a little bit about bad baseball weather. And I think that's got really kind of two extremes and then several different things to talk about when we're talking about the weather. There's the extreme cold and the extreme hot. We're here in Texas, and today I think we got up to 80. Earlier this week we literally had days that were like 25. So it was a pretty dramatic shift from one set of days to the next. My son was in a tournament and had a game, I believe Monday night, where it was freezing. And then yesterday he pitched in a game and got a sunburn, right? So welcome to Texas. But I'll talk really about the extremes and kind of what those look like, the pros and cons, and then let you guys kind of leave some comments, tell me what you're thinking, and see if we agree or disagree, right? But to start, let's focus on the cold weather and what is bad baseball weather when it's too cold, or what temperature really is that. And I don't know that there's a set number that I have. I think for me, you start getting below freezing, that's really kind of the limit, right? And honestly, you start getting below 40 degrees, it's probably pushing the limit. There's several reasons for that. Now you guys up north, you may be laughing about that, but down here where we try and play baseball a lot, there's no reason, we get lots of time, there's no reason to be out in sub 40 degree, 30 degree weather, right? There's several things to think about. One, and the big one is field conditions. You don't get the field drying out, you don't get the sun coming out, you get rain, sleet, snow, whatever it is, it stays on the field longer, and ultimately just means you can't get out on the field as a result. So the weather in general, not just the cold temperatures, but the things that come with the cold really limit the ability to get out and play. The second thing being probably the most important is injury and injury prevention. A lot of times I see kids that are out there and it's 45 degrees and they have a cool jersey on that's made for 100-degree heat, right? And you're looking at them like the odds of their arm injury are extremely high because you need to stay warm. I mean, if you watch a major league game, what does a pitcher do between innings? He comes in, it doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees, he comes in and puts a jacket on so his arm stays warm. These kids are out there throwing, some of them 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, and they're wearing basically a t-shirt in 40 and 50 degree or sub weather, right? But the rule of thumb for me is if it's below 70 degrees, you need to have some sort of sleeve on. And then as each 10 degree that it drops, you almost need to add another layer, right? You need to have undershirt, a secondary, long sleeve Under Armour type garment, a jersey, and then maybe a hoodie or a jacket that you can take on and off between innings when you're in the dugout. So, and again, that's just to prevent injury, and that doesn't include anything you might put under your pants and so forth. So, keeping your body at peak condition is just optimal, and that's why you'd rather be inside or just not out there in it. It's not football, it's not hockey. You don't have to be in the cold, so why do it? The third thing to think about is equipment and equipment failure. The balls are going to be impacted by the cold shrinking up. You're going to have impact there. You're going to have gloves and materials that don't do well in those sort of conditions, and the bats especially, right? Metal bats, composite bats, they're going to crack, they're going to break, and you'll be replacing gloves and equipment, or bats and equipment pretty regularly, or you're increasing the odds of breaking that piece of equipment, which if it's high dollar equipment, now you're out a couple $100 to replace it. So it just doesn't make sense to do those sort of things. So then the other extreme for that is going to be the extreme heat. So when you start going from, hey, we're playing in 30-degree freezing temperatures, let's look at the 105, 110, 110 plus temperatures. We had some of those last summer. Several days were over 105, 110, some of the hottest I've ever seen in here in Texas. And my son has played in temperatures where it was 105, 106 pretty regular. Doesn't impact too bad here where we are. You start getting closer to the ocean and down south and around the Gulf and that sort of thing, and it can definitely be a little bit different when you've got humidity and other things to consider in there. It does make an impact with those temperatures being that high. So with the high temperatures, you really kind of have a different set of problems to deal with. Or really, they're exactly the same, but just impacting in a different way, I guess I should say, right? So with extreme temperature comes issues with field maintenance, in that some municipalities and areas are going to limit the access to water and watering fields and that sort of thing because they're on rationing, right? Because there's not enough water through the summer months for everyone, so they don't allow them to water like they should. A professional team, colleges teams probably don't deal with that as much, where they have different systems and processes that they can use. But you go to the neighborhood fields and that sort of thing, they really don't have the capacity to kind of go around some of those or work in certain ways, and they may not even have water. And so as a result, the fields are going to look really dry and rough, and sometimes are going to need some extra care in the fall to kind of get them back into a good position. The other piece of that is the equipment, right? So now again, you're talking about extreme heat. It doesn't necessarily, I don't think, impact the bats as much on the baseballs, but you're definitely going to have an impact on your glove if you're not conditioning it properly, doing the things you need to do. You're talking about drying out and that sort of thing. So, that heat is really going to, again, put some wear on it. And then the third thing is, just like with the cold, is that at the end of the day, the most important thing for an athlete is their physical fitness and their conditioning and taking care of their body. And a lot of times, again, with younger athletes, they're not as in tune to what their body needs. And so it's really more on the parents and their caregivers to make sure that they're getting the support and are following the proper protocols for staying hydrated, right? So that means if they're going to be playing at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 in the evening, that they're drinking fluids and water throughout the day, especially if they're playing in the summer, right? Their kids are doing activities already, so continuing to drink water, stay hydrated throughout the day, continue to drink water through the games and those heat points, especially as they play the games. Keep replenishing, and then doing the same thing, after the games and throughout the evening. So it's a continual process. When you get into college and that sort of things, if you're playing on a college level team, they're going to monitor that. You go to practice, you go to a game, they're checking your weight before, checking your weight after, making sure that your water intake is up. They don't want to have any issues because they realize what a problem dehydration can be. So, that really becomes one of the other things to deal with. So from my perspective, obviously, everybody would love to play in, 65 to 80 degree weather. Doesn't always work out that way. A lot of times you're going to have to play in either extreme temperatures, in extreme heat or extreme cold, and you just got to figure out what works best for you. Make sure that, again, you're following the best tips and practices, and keeping yourself hydrated. So again, I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think? What things do you guys do to help your players stay hydrated in the heat or stay warm in the winter? What tips do you have? Things that everybody can do. Also, as a reminder, if you guys take a second, we've got a couple of video links right over here. You can see some of our other videos and see some of the other topics that we talk about. Learn a little bit more about what we're doing and who we are. And also be sure to check out our website, selectbaseballteams.com, and learn a little bit more about us there. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.